Hello, you beautiful people. So, I'm guessing you got curious by the thumbnail, and now you want to know all the new info that we got on Castorice and Phainon's kit, and some other info like the 3.0 character models and a new March 7th form, right? Lucky for you though, you've landed on the absolute perfect video to get some info on all of these things. Today, I'm basically going to talk about some speculations and info that we have right now on Castorice and Phainon's kit, including their element, their path, and their playstyle as well. Other than this, we're also going to take a look at some info related to the models of the Amphoreus characters and a totally new form of March 7th as well, so do keep an eye out for that. Before we begin, allow me to just say the usual disclaimer that all the info that I mentioned during this video comes from different sources, and some of it might be changed at any point of time, so take all this info with a grain of salt. With that being said, let's begin without wasting any more of your time or energy. Alright, I'm pretty sure that most of you guys are interested in the info about Castorice and her kit, so let's start with that topic first. Okay, according to some very reliable sources, Castorice is going to be a quantum-type character who follows the path of remembrance, and she will most likely play the role of a main DPS on your team, but she might have some decent sub-DPS capabilities as well. I'm saying this because according to some sources, Castorice is paired with Maidoi to form a dual DPS team in the early testing. Now, this either means that she and Maidoi could have a case similar to Jinglu and Blade, where they have some nice synergy, or maybe Maidoi or Castorice are specifically designed as dual DPS characters who synergize insanely well with each other. Regardless of the scenario, we know that they will be a great pairing together, and this makes me somewhat excited to see how both of them will work when placed in the same team. From the small pieces of information that we do know about Castorice, a source mentioned that she will use that huge undead dragon from her trailer as her summon, and this dragon will probably be her main source of damage. Dude, I was already simping a lot for her gorgeous design, but after knowing that she uses a whole dragon as a summon, I think Castorice just became a must-pull for me. By the way, we can also speculate that she will be an HP scaling unit who also scales on crit, and this speculation is totally based on her signature relic set, which massively buffs crit and is specifically made for quantum units. Castorice will most definitely utilize Sunday as well because she is a Memo Sprite-based DPS, and we all know that Sunday is quite literally made for Memo Sprite-based DPS units. Castorice in particular, though, might be the most synergistic Remembrance DPS with Sunday because her signature relic set wants her to be as slow as possible for the massive crit buffs, and a fast Sunday will allow her to have a lot of turns due to his action advance. By the way, just me speculating here, but I think that Castorice will be a damage dealer that scales based off mechanics related to how much HP the team has lost or something like that, because this would explain why she is paired with two healers in her test kit. Along with this, it also explains why Maide will be good for her, as his entire thing is draining HP from the team. Lastly, regarding her release date, according to the current info, she will be featured on the limited banners in patch 3.2, and this patch will also be the second anniversary patch for Star Rail. Anyways, moving on from Castorice, let's take a look at some info about another really hyped character, and of course I'm talking about Phainon, who is also the Kevin Kaslana XP. So, literally just a few hours ago, one of the most reliable sources that we have right now mentioned some info related to Phainon, and I think this info might upset some of you guys a little bit. Okay, according to the source, Phainon is going to be a physical-type character who follows the path of destruction, and he plays the role of a main DPS on your team. Other than Phainon's element and path, this source also mentioned that he is most likely going to be released around patch 3.4, which is the patch just before the Fate and HSR collaboration. Honestly, I don't really get why they're making him a physical destruction unit, when we already have two other main DPSs who follow the same path and have the same element as well. They can easily fix this though by making him like an ice or a quantum type unit who follows the path of remembrance, and I think that would make people a lot happier than him being a physical destruction unit. Also, I'm not someone who really knows about Honkai Impact 3rd lore, but I've seen a lot of people say that it kind of makes sense for Phainon to be an ice or a fire type unit, and I'm really hoping that this turns out to be true and they change his element to ice. Lastly, I just want to mention that as of right now, we do not have any info of a male character who follows the path of remembrance. Yep, I genuinely hope that they introduce a male remembrance unit soon because I believe that none of us want an entire path to be locked for a specific gender. With that, we're entirely done with the new info that we got on Phainon and continuing the rhythm. Let's move on and take a look at the model types for the Amphoreus characters. Okay, Starting with Aglia, I think it's very obvious by her drip marketing that she is going to have a lady type model. And if you don't have any idea about the lady type model, some examples for this model are Kafka, Acheron, or Feishao. Next up, Maide and Phainon are going to have the classic male type model, and the other characters who share this similar model are Gallagher, Dr. Ratio, or Welt. Honestly, I'm really happy that both of them are the male type models because I'm planning to pull for both of them, and I think the male type model suits them quite a lot. Anyways, Triby is going to have the child type model similar to Bailu or Hook, and Anaxa is going to have the lad type model similar to our Lord Sunday, Aventurin or Dan Hangael. Finally, the two most hyped characters for the Amphoreus arc are Castorice and Madame Herta, and both of them share the same model, which is the maid model. This model is honestly my favorite model in HSR because I think it's just perfect, and some other examples for the characters who share the similar model are Firefly, March 7th, or Langshaw. I have to say though, I'm really happy that all the characters who I mainly want to pull during the Amphoreus arc like Castorice, the Herta, Maidoi, and Phainon all have my favorite models, which are the male and maid models, so that's pretty nice overall. Okay, next up, seeing as we're already done with more than half the topics that I decided to cover in this video, let's move on to the smaller and faster topics like March 7th's new form. So, according to one of the most reliable sources that we have in the community right now, March 7th is going to get a totally new form in the upcoming patches around the end of the Amphoreus arc, and this new form of hers will be a remembrance type unit with a unique summon of her own. The source also mentioned that this form of March will be somewhat like an evil version of her, which sounds pretty interesting to say the least, and I think it's somewhat expected though that we get some development for March. I mean, because of her companion quest, we all already know that March has some past related to remembrance, and with Amphoreus introducing us to the remembrance path as a whole, I think it was very obvious that March would get a new form or something like that. As a follow-up to this info, another source mentioned that this new form of March will be a totally different character than her 4-star form. If you didn't understand what I mean by that, you can think of them functioning similarly to how Dan Heng and Dan Hangail function, where they are basically considered as two separate characters. Honestly, I'm really excited for a new form of March 7th, but don't get your hopes too high already, because the source hasn't mentioned if this new form will be a 5-star or a 4-star yet. Anyways, with the info about March 7th being covered, I've discussed about all the topics that I mentioned at the start of the video, and I really hope that you guys understood everything that I explained. Do remember to comment down which character you guys are the most excited for during the Amphoreus arc, and also your thoughts on Castorice and Phainon's kit as well. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video until the end, you might want to consider subscribing to the channel as well. With that being said, I really love y'all, and I will see you in another one.